All right, y'all. I want to talk about money today. Not launches, not passive income funnels, not six figure this or multi stream that. I want to talk about a system underneath all of it that most people never build. And that's exactly why so many creators hit a revenue goal and still feel broke. Not financially broke, but something else. Depleted, like the revenue came, but the peace didn't follow it. If you've ever hit a target and wondered why it didn't feel the way you thought it would, this episode is for you. Because peace and profit are not in conflict, but they do have to be built in a specific sequence. And most of us are building them in the wrong way. Let me tell you about a launch I did a couple of years ago that, by every external measure, was successful. I hit the revenue number, I got the testimonials, the emails were flowing and coming in. Y'all, on paper, it was exactly what I have been working towards and planning towards. But at the end of it, I was exhausted, bone tired, and I was at that point where I did not want to even turn on my computer. And the thing that scared me the most wasn't the exhaustion itself, it was the thought that followed with. Is this what success supposed to feel like? Because if that was success, if revenue meant running that hard every single time, then I didn't know if I wanted to keep building. What I eventually figured out, not immediately, but over time, was that the launch had worked, yes, but the system around the launch had failed me. I had no clarity on what my sustainable revenue baseline needed to be. I had no rhythm for how offers should flow throughout the entire year. So I wasn't relying on one big push either at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year. I had no filter for what kinds of revenue actually aligned with the life I was trying to build versus the kinds that actually produce numbers. Listen, I have all the revenue tactics. I have followed persons who talk about revenue and having revenue goals, but I didn't have a revenue system. And that difference is everything. Now, I know when it comes to money, and talking about money, somehow it's a taboo for entrepreneurs. And I don't understand why. We started the business to serve and give our gifts and be in service to others with the gifts and talents that God has blessed us with. But when it comes to money, or if you want to put it, revenue, but if it when it comes to money, we are so afraid to address it. And so we're in this culture where make more, sell more, launch more, build more income streams. And now I am not saying more is always wrong. More can be appropriate in the right season. Talking about money and really addressing revenue and money is important for in order for you to keep doing what you're doing, in order for you to have a livelihood. But here is the part where I want to give you a different perspective. Revenue without alignment is just an expensive exhaustion. The goal isn't a bigger number, the goal is a sustainable system that generates enough consistently without costing you the life you're building towards, because we can have all this different type of revenue goal or money goal, but if at the end of it you're exhausted, you cannot show up and serve the clients that you want to work with, you cannot show up and serve the communities that you want to foster and pour into, and you are not good for your own self, you are not good for your family, and anything that is outside of work and business. So many times I have seen countless of creators and business owners run after that money or revenue goal, and they forsake their families, they forsake their even their own bodies and health just so they can hit that goal. Listen, the creator who makes $8,000 a month in a way that gives energy, time, and margin is in a better position than the creator who makes $15,000 a month in a way that slowly dismantles their health, relationships, and their calling. Now, here is what I want you to hear me and hear me very clearly. The number is not the matrix. Sustainability is the matrix. I'm building a revenue system, not just revenue tactics, is how you get there. A system needs to have a rhythm. I've always looked at systems as rhythms, natural flows. If you look at nature, if you look at how God designed us in our body has a rhythm. If we're not taking care of that system, if we're not nourishing it, we deplete our body. Our body goes into failure. It's the same way. I love to garden. There is a natural system and a rhythm when it comes to a tree growing from a seed into a full blown tree that produces fruit. It has predictability that if I plant this seed, this is the type of tree it's going to grow into because there is clarity in that design, and it will bear fruit in the season for which the person who needs to pick that fruit needs it. Come on now. All right. And so it doesn't require you to sprint every time. Having a system that has a rhythm creates a baseline that your business returns to, even in the slower weeks. That's what we are going to be building today. Now, these are three layers that I have been practicing in the last 2 years when it comes to revenue and and how it ties in to my everyday workflow and the type of life that I am building. Now, I want you to build them in this order because that is where you're going to start creating that rhythm. Now, the first is going to be your baseline number. That is going to be your foundation. That is where everything is going to be built on. Before you build a revenue strategy, you need to know what enough actually is. How much do you actually want to have every single month? Let me put it into perspective. And I never understood this until I became an entrepreneur. Every job that I seek in my years in corporate, the interviewer, the company always ask you this question. What is your, and at least for me, that's the question I always got asked. What do you think your salary should be? And a lot of times, regretfully, sometimes we say a number. And then when we get into the job role and the amount of work that we're doing, and we're so frustrated, this money is not enough. Or they know it and are too afraid to anchor to it because it feels too modest. Here is what I have learned in these last 7 years of running my own business. Knowing your baseline is not limiting. It is actually liberating because when you know what enough looks like, you can build a system designed to hit it consistently instead of chasing goals that leave you feeling like you never quite there yet. And I know a lot of us can relate to it. So here is what you're going to do this week. Sit down and calculate your actual baseline number. This is where you're going to review all your business expenses, every subscription, every bill that you pay that helps you to run your business on a daily, week basis, or a monthly basis. Calculate and have a total for your business expenses. Then I want you to address your personal needs, not your wants, your personal needs, because your wants and your needs are different. Your wants could go on the back burner for now. But what are your personal needs? What are those bills that you need to be paying every single month? Realistically, look at it. Look at your taxes. What is your savings minimum? Because you're supposed to be saving. If you're a believer, you're supposed to be tithing as well. But what is your saving minimum? What does your business need to generate monthly for everything to be okay? Not thriving, just okay. That number is going to be your baseline. Write it down, and that is going to be the layer that is going to be protected. Now, if you get extra, praise the Lord, we are going to be working towards it. But the second layer is the rhythm. That is going to be your evergreen revenue structure. And so that rhythm, once you know your baseline, you build structures designed to hit it without a launch. Now, I am not saying launches are bad. Launches can be super, super powerful. I have done a few launches in the 6 years that I've had my business, but you need to know when they are the right tool for which season. Because here is what I realize: a business whose revenue relies on launches and flat lines between those launches is a business living on adrenaline. Evergreen revenue structures are those things that generate income on a recurring and a consistent basis. So here is what I have done that has helped me to have that recurring or consistent revenue basis is that you can have digital products that are available year round, subscription or membership for exclusivity to your community, a recurring retainer, a course where people can buy at any time. Those are different things that are considered evergreen. Now, these are not passive. So let me be very, 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 very clear about that. They require real setup, real maintenance, and real attention because everyday things are advancing. And especially if you are in the tech industry or depending on the type of industry that you are in, sometimes what you teach this month might go out of style next month. And so this is why I say it requires real maintenance and real attention. But they create a revenue rhythm that your business can breathe inside of. So I want you to look at your current income sources, know which ones require active effort every single time they generate revenue, and which ones have the potential to become more of a rhythm, or the ones that are that have an evergreen structure that could build or strengthen in the next, let's say, 90 days, that will bring you closer to your baseline without having to launch it or sprint it every single time. Now, the third layer for me is the revenue that matches the life. Not all revenue is equal. Let me say it another way. Not all money is equal. Some income costs more than it pays. And this is the layer that most revenue advice completely skips across. And it is the one that determines whether money you make actually serves the life you are building. I want you to ask yourself these three questions about every revenue source you have, or are you considering. One, does this require me to show up in a way that drains me? Does this attract the right kind of client or customer I actually want to serve? And does this fit the season I am in? Or does it belong to a different version of my business? Now, I'm not saying every income source has to be effortless and perfectly aligned, but sometimes you do things in an early season that you graduate from later. And that is the real case about when it comes to our money and revenue. But if you have revenue sources that are constantly draining your energy, compromise your values, or pull you away from your actual calling, those need to be reviewed even if they pay well. Listen, I build back end systems for my clients. And the funny thing is, depending on the season that you're in, sometimes we are so focused on just getting the money inside in the door that we don't realize, or we don't create a filter to be discerning of, is this going to serve me in this season? Am I going to be too drained? And yes, I get it. Bills need to be paid, but you also need to be filtered. You also need to have a filter. I can remember I had my entire system set up for my service, and I had a potential client come in. They went through the discovery portion of the service, and I got on the call with them. And the questions that I asked in that discovery call told me everything about the potential client. And I was like, after that call, I was like, Lord, I need that money. But I knew that particular client would have drained me. And I had to be honest with it. And the season I was in that moment, I know I did not have the capacity to serve that client. So what I did, wrote her and I told her that she's not a good fit. And I did it very professionally, but she wasn't a good fit for the service. And the reason why I turned down and that was like a $25,000 service. Hear me and hear me right. That client was willing to pay that money for me to bill out two back end systems, two of her companies. And I turned that down because I understood that I was not in the position to serve. I know I could not bring my best, and I don't want to take the client's money and deliver a subpar service. And so I recommended some other service providers that she could have gone to. Now, the only way I was able to do this is because the revenue system that serves me is the one where the money you make and the life you actually want are moving in the same direction. So a lot of people are going to be like, yes, you turned down 20,000. I'm like, yeah, I did. But it came with a peace of mind. It allowed me to stare into a different direction. And I'm happy because that decision allowed me to be on this path that I am right now. And I'm at peace and I'm happy. And it actually set the stage because little that I knew, the season of my life was changing and I did not know. So that one single moment of decision worked in my favor, and I'm very, very thankful to God for giving me that discernment. And he knew why he told me in that moment to decline that client. So your action this week is to list your top 3 revenue sources. Run each one of them through those 3 questions. And if you can honestly answer those questions, you might either need to shift or you may need to take that information and kind of tweak your revenue system a little. I want to close this series with something that sits underneath all of it. We can talk for hours about money and revenue inside of business and the mindset shifts that I had to come out of agreement with when it comes to money and revenue and charging your word and doing all the different things that you hear about. The reason we sprint toward numbers without asking whether we're hitting them will actually give us the life we want is often fear. Fear that if we pause to ask whether it's sustainable, we'll miss that window or we'll miss that opportunity. Fear that if we slow down enough to build a system, someone else will get there first or someone will get your customers. Fear that enough won't actually be enough. Hear me. Philippians 4:19 says this, and my God will supply, will meet all your needs according to the riches of his glory in Christ Jesus. All of your needs, not all your fears, not all your projected goals, all your needs, not all of your wants, but all of your needs. I think there is an invitation in that verse to get really honest about the difference between what we need and what we are chasing. Because that piece first revenue system isn't just a business strategy, it's a faith posture. It's saying, I am going to build in a way that reflects trust. Trust that enough is real, that sustainability is wise, that I don't have to destroy myself to prove my worth and my calling. And as believers and as Christian entrepreneurs, or whatever term you like to put to it, we are putting faith that God is going to give us a strategy to build our business. That, yes, as He pours into our cup, we are pouring from the overflow or the abundance, not from the entire cup, but we're pouring from that overflow and that abundance into our communities. God is going to supply all our needs, yes, but He is also going to give us more than enough. That is why in scripture He says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added to you. What are all of these things? Our human mind cannot start to comprehend it. And so, all of these things, I know there's going to be an abundance. So, although I can set this number in my limited mindset, it could be a limited number, but I know that I serve a great God who's going to supply my needs according to His riches, because He owns the cattle on a hill, He owns everything. Okay. And when you build from that place of faith and trust and confidence in God, and knowing that He is going to show you and He's going to direct you, when your revenue system is designed around what you actually need, structured to be rhythmic, sustainable, and filtered for your calling and your alignment, you will start to see shift in your business. Stop building your business. Stop like dancing around fear, operating from a place of fear, and start building your business from faith. Start building your business with faith, believing, because faith without works is dead. You can have all the faith in the world, but if you're not doing the work to build the system and do the things that you need to get done, you are building in vain. But you need to have faith. You need to be doing the work that you're supposed to be doing. And you also need to have the systems in place. And that is when the work starts to feel like it is always supposed to feel. You're going to feel at peace. You're going to be happy to show up and do what you want to do. Let me be honest with you guys. When I shut down the services aspect of my business, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go into full-time creator. I was having faith. I had the faith and I was believing that God is going to help me, because little that a lot of people don't know, what I am doing now, I was supposed to do that 6 years ago when I initially left my corporate job and wanted to come into full-time entrepreneurship, was to teach tech in a way that is simple for everyday users, but also for creators, and showing them that tech can be a tool that they can use to advance their creativity to help them with their everyday workflows. I wrote it down in a book in 2019. All right. But I went a different route because I listened to what the internet streets were saying, and I went a different route. And I'm so happy that I went down that wrong, I won't say a wrong route, but I went down the services route, because I have learned a lot, and a lot of the principles from corporate and a lot that I've learned in the last 6 years has made me a better creator now, because all the lessons, all the failures, all the road bumps has positioned me to operate the way I'm operating now as a full-time creator. Structure is so important. Having faith in God, believing that He's going to help you, is so important. Addressing money is so important. Being real about what it is, what a comfortable life would look like for you. If you get an overflow of more than what you project, yes, celebrate that. Be happy. Save it. Don't spend it all, but save it. But outside of that, creating a revenue system is so important. Another thing I want to address too before we move on and before we close out this month is that having revenue goals are important, but also understanding what are your tools that you're using, understanding what are your baselines and your filters and all of that, but also learn how to manage your business by the numbers. And we talk about this in the previous episodes. Understanding your numbers are going to be important. This is the part where we need to be comfortable with money. This is the part where, like, okay, we know our worth, we want to charge X a month, but what it is that is going to keep you floating in your business. So, as this week comes to an end and as the month comes to an end, I want you to reflect on it. What does enough actually look like in your business, in your everyday life? And are you currently building towards it, or are you chasing it or chasing past it? And you need to be honest about that. Listen, peace and profit are not in conflict, but peace has to come first in the design, in the intention, and in the system you build. Get the sequence right, and then the revenue follows. All right, so that is a wrap on the Strategy She Builds series. Y'all, this month has been so good. The filters, the reviews, the content, and closing it all off, the revenue. All of it is connected. All of it is building towards one thing: a business that serves your life and not the other way around, right? So, as we close off this month and the series, I hope that it's been helpful. Please share it out to your different community, share it to a friend. If you're on the YouTube channel, thank you so much for joining the Creative Flow podcast. I appreciate each and every one of you who subscribe and you're listening. But let me know how this series has helped you. As always, I'm Elisha, and this is how we create a flow.